Sometimes the most amazing peek into the future of AI doesn't come from some huge, complex project. Nope, sometimes it comes from a simple, everyday problem. So today, let's dive into a little detective story. The mystery? A single missing measurement. And the detectives are two very different AI minds.
So here it is, the star of our show, this super sleek 80O Air Carbon e-bike. It's light, it's foldable, looks like a pretty perfect city bike, right? But like in any good mystery, this very ordinary object is hiding a really tricky puzzle.
And this is where it gets interesting, because trying to figure out one tiny detail about this bike forces us to ask a much bigger question. What's the real difference between an answer that's just smart and an answer that's actually useful? And how can we teach AI to know which is which?
All right, so let's set the scene for our investigation. This whole thing starts with a very practical, real-world challenge, one that was faced by a researcher named Luca Cinicchio.
So meet our main character. Luca Cinicchio is all set to buy this bike. He loves it, but he has one very specific thing he needs to figure out before he clicks that buy button.
And this is the heart of the problem. See, the bike doesn't have a kickstand he likes, but he found this company, Kickstand, that makes these awesome custom ones. To order it, though, he needs to give them a super precise contact height. And the catch? He can't just go measure it, because he doesn't own the bike yet. He's stuck.
Okay, so this is where the real detective work kicks in. Luca has to turn to the only evidence he's got, the manufacturer's own website. But the clues he finds there, well, they're both a little bit helpful and a whole lot confusing.
The evidence itself is a bit of a contradiction. On one side, you've got the official spec sheet. It's got tons of numbers, but of course, not the one he actually needs. And on the other side, you have this marketing photo with a little red arrow that looks like it's pointing to exactly the right spot. But is that a technical diagram, or is it just, for looks?
So you see, the real issue is this isn't just one simple question. It's actually three questions all layered on top of each other. First, can we even figure out the distance that arrow is showing? Second, what part of the bike is it actually pointing to? Is it the frame, the bottom bracket? And third, and this is the most important one, which one of these measurements is the one the kickstand company actually needs?
So, faced with all this confusing evidence, Luca does what many of us would do. He turns to his first detective, a large language model. Let's see how it handles the case.
This first AI, let's call it the estimator. It did exactly what you'd think it would do. It looked at that marketing photo, it took a known measurement like the wheel size to figure out the scale, and then it did the geometry to calculate the length of that red arrow. Pretty straightforward. And bam, it comes back with a really confident, really precise answer. 520 millimeters. It's a clean number. It makes sense. For a second, it looks like, okay, case closed. But is it the right answer?
And this is where the story gets really cool. Luca doesn't just take that answer and run with it. He brings in a second AI detective, one with a totally different way of thinking.
The second model didn't even try to redo the math. Instead, it zeroed in on a much deeper question. It basically said, look, the right question here isn't what's the number. The right question is, what does that number actually mean in the real world?
So this second model acted as a critic. Its job wasn't to check the first model's math. Its job was to challenge the assumptions. It asked, okay, 520 millimeters sounds plausible, but is that the measurement the kickstand company actually needs to build a stand that works? It was all about the context.
So by putting these two different models, the estimator and the critic, into a kind of conversation, something new started to happen. It's a process that Luca Cinicchio calls orchestration.
Think of it like a little back-and-forth loop. First, the estimator gives a plausible number. Then, the critic pushes back, asking what that number really represents. And by going around like this, they move from just a simple calculation to an answer that's actually robust and useful.
And through this process, they finally did it. They untangled three different ideas that were all jumbled together at the start: the technical height of a part, the visual height from the photo, and the one that really mattered, the practical, real-world contact height. The 520 millimeter figure was still correct, but now it was tied to the right meaning.
And that is the big idea here. LLM orchestration isn't about just getting a second opinion. It's about building a team. You assign different AIs complementary jobs, like one who makes the estimates and one who plays the skeptic, so you can systematically work through messy, ambiguous, real-world problems.
Okay, so why does a story about an e-bike kickstand matter so much? I mean, what's the big deal? Well, because it points to a really fundamental shift in how we can use AI to solve problems.
It really comes down to this difference. The first AI, all by itself, gave us what you could call plausible intelligence. It was a coherent, precise number. It answered the question it was asked. But what the two of them together delivered was usable judgment. They found the right number for the right purpose because they stopped to ask if they were even asking the right question to begin with.
And that, right there, is the crucial takeaway from Luca Ciannicchio's work. The biggest danger with these incredibly powerful AIs isn't always that they'll be wrong. It's that they will be confidently, impressively, and precisely right about the wrong thing. And orchestration is a way to stop that from happening.
So it kind of leaves us with this fascinating thought, doesn't it? In a world that's about to be flooded with AI-generated answers, maybe the most important skill isn't finding an answer fast. Maybe it's building a process to make sure it's the answer you can actually use. Are you just looking for a number, or are you looking for what that number truly means?